Now, our next senior is Lillian Lemasters, and Lillian is involved in NHS, Inner Arts Club, Molly UN, the Diversity Club, and theater. And outside of school, she enjoys making art and volunteering at church. Now, for college, she's undecided, but she desires to major in ophthalmology. Now, she has been studying adolescent myopia and its connections to various risk factors such as everyday activities. Now, let's welcome Lillian Lemasters.
Show of hands, how many of you have seen this chart before? Okay, almost all of us. Well, it's called a Snellen chart, and it's primarily used to measure if an individual has myopia. Now, I myself have myopia, and I would hazard a guess that a lot of you also have myopia. And that's because currently, the National Eye Institute estimates that about 30% of the world is myopic, and that by 2050, it's estimated that over 50% have myopia, a stunning 5 billion people by that point. And past 2050, we can think that this trend will continue to worsen. But before I get ahead of myself, what is myopia? Well, myopia is a medical term for nearsightedness, and it basically consists of the eye being too long. What happens is your eye receives light from the outside world, and it shines to the back of your eye into a light-sensitive layer of tissue called the retina, as you can see in the bottom image. The issue being that whenever your eye becomes too long, it will try to receive the light, shine onto the myopia, or onto the retina, but it will fall short, and it will not hit it exactly, manifesting in symptoms of seeing well up close, but poorly far distance. Now, I had always assumed that this was solely determined by genetics, because whenever you are born, your eyes growing rapidly in your early childhood, and then it slows down in teenage years, altogether stopping when you're in your early 20s. However, whenever my vision started changing past the point where it should have been permanent, I began looking at different ideas behind this, because clearly genetics are not the only thing involved. And I actually determined that scientists believe that there are various risk factors in your daily life that you can do that will actually contribute to having myopia beyond just your genetics. The first of which being near work. Now, near work consists of activities such as reading, writing, or essentially anything where you have an object close to your face for an extended period of time. Now, if you're anything like me, this means that this is how you spend a great deal of your time. Now, because this is such a huge part of daily life, that's how we get the stereotype of a smart person having glasses, because if they read more frequently, they might have poor eyesight. So, that being said, we've been reading for thousands of years, and for as long as we know about myopia, we've known that near work is pretty much bad for your eyes. But since this rapid rate of eye development has only been around for the past couple decades, it's clear that this cannot be the reason why this is happening. So, there must be another risk factor involved in how eyesight develops, and that is technology. When I say technology, I specifically mean objects with screens. And what's scary is that they are bad for our eyes, we know that, but we don't know why exactly. And there's multiple theories behind it. One is that there's just a near work aspect involved with screens, because if you're holding your phone to your face, obviously it's very close to your face. However, there's also the idea that screens are inherently bad for your eyes because of the light received by your eyes from the screens. Now, the theories behind the screen being bad for your eyes because of the light often center on the idea of digital eye strain, and that's the overly tired feeling you get after looking at a screen for a very long time. On the other hand, the myopia and nearsightedness aspect are linked together, and that is that if you look at your phone, it's bad or it's close to your face, just like regular non-traditional and non-digital near work. Now, a study was conducted that measured people who would typically use phones versus televisions, and the populations that used phones more frequently than televisions actually had worse vision because they were holding it closer to their face than they were when they're watching television. So it's safe to say that technology can be bad for your eyes no matter your age. However, this issue especially arises whenever children in their peak years of eye growth are given iPads and other technology to scroll on for hours on end. This specifically is bad for their eyes because it can stop their development that would happen naturally. But furthermore, if you're spending large amounts of time on your screens, that means you're going outside less frequently, leading me to my third and final point, and that being that sunlight is good for your eyes. Now, there's a heavy correlation between going outside more and having better eyesight. Of course, correlation does not equal causation, so this could be due to a variety of reasons. First being that whenever you go outside, obviously you can't be reading a book on a run. So that means that you're taking time away from near work activities, and so that's good for your eyes in that regard. However, experts also believe that there is inherent preventative effect between going outside and myopia, meaning that going outside could be actually preventing myopia from forming in the first place. And they think this because when they took a study of 2 different populations who both participated in the same amount of non-digital and digital mirror work, meaning like both had 4 hours of screen time a day, and the only difference between the 2 groups being that one went outside more frequently than the other, the group that went outside more frequently actually had better eyesight than the group that did not. Meaning that experts actually think that if you go outside more, it can be better for your eyes and not prevent myopia from that's already happened or reverse it, but it can prevent it. So now you know the 3 biggest risk factors and their nuances involved. But why does this matter? Why should you care about this? Yes, it's an annoying lifestyle change, but it's not actually a harm. You can't cure it, but you can correct it. You can get glasses like I'm wearing right now, surgeries that are semi-permanent, or wear corrective lenses of any sort. But, like I said, it doesn't cause you harm. Well, I'm thinking that's actually wrong, because there's this thing called high myopia. And high myopia is, I won't get into technical terms, but it's just a very bad case of myopia, meaning you can't see well at all. For reference, people with high myopia cannot read the largest E on the Snellen chart without glasses, which, if you can't tell, is kind of meaning that they're legally blind without glasses. So, this is already by itself pretty terrifying. But they're also at risk for retinal tears, retinal detachments, cataracts, and glaucoma, which are all very serious eye conditions that can lead to blindness. And even more worryingly, along with the idea that regular myopia is increasing globally, high myopia is also increasing, because in some Southeast Asian countries that prioritize near work and schooling, up to 20% of children graduate school with a form of high myopia, meaning that 20% of the children in these countries are at risk for the aforementioned health issues. This is why it's important. Unfortunately, prevention is easy, but people aren't practicing it. In some schools in Southeast Asia, they've actually implemented measures where people will take breaks from schoolwork, go outside more, and just practice better health care for their eyes. And it's been shown to have great effects. People who practice this have better eyesight. However, the schools doing this are the exception, not the rule, despite the fact that I personally think that all schools would benefit from something like this. And it simply has to do with the fact that schools do not know about this, nor do they care about it. So that's why I urge you to care about it. You can take control of your personal life. Remember, our eyes aren't just a way to connect with the world, they're our prime way of seeing it. Without our eyes, we can't see our loved ones, anything like that. So, it's a very simple fix. Take care of your eyes. Take breaks from screen time, take breaks from near work, go outside more. Remember, this could be the difference between seeing and not seeing. Your future self will thank you.